I want to start by reading an excerpt from a letter to Klaus Schwab, the Executive Chairman of the World Economic Forum. The excerpt reads, "The scandalous rise in the cost of living across the globe is not an unfortunate accident. It's the result of dogged commitment from governments all over the world to preserving the power and wealth of a tiny minority over the needs of their voting publics. It's a stunning commitment to failure and a constant suppressant on our economic and social prosperity. We must face it, people do not trust democracy because the prevailing global oligarchy is rendering it pointless. No matter how many people vote, if governments continue to listen to wealth over sense, the votes and voices of everyday people are not heard. If you want to defend democracy, you have to face facts. The divide between the very rich and the rest must close. The rich must be taxed." Perhaps the words of a social justice movement or a left-wing political activist, you might think. But nothing could be further from the truth. This letter was actually written by millionaires themselves. Specifically, a non-party political network of millionaires advocating for action on economic inequality and higher taxes on themselves. They include groups such as Patriotic Millionaires, Tax Me Now, Millionaires for Humanity and the 99% Initiative, who recognise that, yes, hard work and entrepreneurship should be celebrated, rewarded and encouraged, but that we can't do that effectively within a broken economic system that fails to address the gross divide between extreme wealth and the majority of everyday people. Now, these millionaires, and I suspect many more decent people like them, recognise that something very skewed has been happening within our economy over recent years. And they're right. A recent report called Taxing Extreme Wealth by Oxfam, Patriotic Millionaires, the Institute for Policy Studies and Fight Inequality found that in the UK alone, between 2016 and 2021, the number of individuals with wealth over 50 million increased from 4,375 to 5,330. They also found that there are 56 billionaires with wealth totalling 204.9 billion, and that throughout the pandemic, whilst many people struggled, the wealth of British billionaires actually increased by 41.06 billion. Indeed, the 5 richest billionaires have the same amount of wealth as the bottom 40% of British society. And this phenomenon hasn't happened overnight. The global free market race for the most competitive national tax rates has seen the top rates of personal income tax and capital income tax rates decline since the 1980s in leading industrial nations, and the income share of the top 1% has significantly increased. And on top of all of this, the tax system here in the UK is littered with loopholes that allow tax avoidance. There is little resource for HMRC to clamp down on it, or indeed tax evasion. And there are a number of inherent structural flaws, such as the absurdity that income from wealth is taxed at a lower rate than income from salary. And the sad fact is, as we've heard today, it doesn't need to be like this. We can take steps to reform our broken taxation system. And a wealth tax is one option to try and create such economic balance. Now, of course, there are many permutations to how a wealth tax could be constructed. It could be an annual tax in tandem with wider and much-needed reform of our taxation system to address existing loopholes and structural flaws. Or alternatively, as we've heard today, it could be a one-off tax in response to the COVID pandemic and the cost of living crisis. Now, such detail, of course, requires a much detailed and deeper discussion that time will allow today. But I hope that that will be the next step after today's debate. Because even millionaires themselves are warning out us against the injustices they plainly see within our economic system. And further, they're warning us to take seriously the threat that rising inequality poses to democracy. So it's up to all of us today, whatever our political stripes, to embrace tax changes that would limit inequality and give our constituents the quality of life they deserve. Thank you.